Well, joining us now is the Sun columnist Trevor Kavanagh. Trevor, good morning.
Ask him, budget or mini-budget or autumn statement?
It was a budget.
There you go. See?
And
Brilliant.
what did you make of it? Is this something that you think the Tories can turn the opinions of the nation around on?
Well, it's the first step because it's a budget, but the real budget comes in March. And I think that they're paving the way now for a much bigger tax cuts in March. I think that we're going to see those cuts in stamp duty and inheritance tax and a few other changes which will really open up the clear blue water between Labour and the Tories. So this is the first step.
Trev, I think even die-hard Tories would ask this, and I read your article, it's fantastic. It is the only shot, the only shot left in the locker for a Tory government that are 20 points behind in the polls after what can only be described as 13 chaotic years in power, as you quite rightly say. You talk about clear blue water. The critics of the Tory government right now, who might have voted for them in the past, would be, why the hell has it taken to this point? Why has it taken so long for that blue water to be aware? Why has the Tory party lost its soul? Are the sorts of things that we talk incessantly on this programme about, low taxation, you know, a strong military, safe borders, fiscal responsibility? I've sat here this week, Trevor, and been told the survey conducted by, I don't know who, said that Labour is more trustworthy on the economy. That must frighten the Tory party. Why haven't they done this sooner?
Yes, that must really hurt. And I think the whole problem is that 13 years of Tory rule, which has been very patchy at least, and during the COVID pandemic and the Ukraine war has been particularly hard on the economy. And also the spending, the profligate spending of the Boris administration, the HS2 waste of money, billions lost there. I mean, there's no doubt at all that the government is culpable. This Tory regime is culpable. What we have is a new sort of Tory regime, which is a year of Rishi Sunak, who is trying to put things right and is doing what he can with what he's got to...
but he was part of the past.
Of course he was.
That's
but
the
he
thing,
was,
isn't it?
But he was the one who was reported as saying that they were hurling money, he said, hurling money at COVID. And he was the one also who said that he had to cut up Boris's credit card. So as Chancellor, yes, he was in charge of the purse strings, but Boris was the one who was making life impossible for him as Chancellor. So I think that Rishi Sunak doesn't get very much of this, but I think he deserves a bit of credit for now trying to put things back on an even keel.
And Trevor, you said for Sun readers, pensions rising by that big rate of inflation and national insurance contributions going down is going to be popular, as well as a cut on booze duty, I believe.
Good Christmas present.
That's gone down very well with Sun readers, of course. That's our campaign. And we got a hat tip for that in the Commons from the Chancellor yesterday. I think that what we've got here is a carrot and stick budget, or mini budget, whichever you want to call it. So there are a couple of million people who could easily be working today who are on unemployment-related or employment-related benefits. The fact that the minimum wage has gone up, the fact that national insurance contributions have gone down, and the fact that people are going to possibly lose their benefits if they don't actively seek work, I think all of those are really good for the economy and for the country. And I think that their view that work is what makes people feel better is the answer to all of these problems.
That should always be the focus on it, right? You know, work for not just for the sake of working, but for actually boosting your self-esteem and getting some money in as well. Do you think it really will turn things around in the long term, though? They're 23 points behind, Trev.
Well, I mean, even though we're very close to an election, 9 months is still a long time in politics. Anything could happen. But as we speak, as we stand, it looks impossible. And most Conservatives, most in the Cabinet and in Downing Street, really don't think that there's that much chance. But they're at last beginning to put up a fight, which is reassuring to an awful lot of those Tory voters who are simply going to sit on their hands next time.
Can I ask you, you've got so much experience, and I'm interested in this, and it's a more personal thing. Let's put aside the politics for a minute and the incentives and whatever. Because this is what will happen, by the way, my friends, when it's time to put your cross in the box, it'll be about the money in your pocket and it'll be what you make of the two would-be prime ministers. I think we'd be wrong not to say that Starmer has dragged the Labour Party by its bootstraps and has done a good job. I think we'd also be right to say that because of all the Tory infighting and the chaos you alluded to, there hasn't been a light shone. But do you see him cracking? Do you believe he's got what it takes? Do you think when you look at him alongside Sunak, it won't be a boring campaign because they're both boring people, but essentially, do you think he's got what it takes to be the next Prime Minister?
I don't think it'll be a boring campaign. I think it's going to be a very interesting one. I think he's got what it takes to become Prime Minister. Whether he's got what it takes to be Prime Minister is a huge different question. And so far, we've seen nothing from Keir Starmer that hasn't been a total somersault on what he said only a week or 10 days before. So, I mean, even within his own...
Israel.
Well, on Israel, I have to say that that is exemplary, and he's stuck with his
And look
position.
what it did. This is my thing. Look what it's caused in his party. But he has stuck to his word, to be fair. But does that shine a light on perhaps if he sticks his neck on the line in the future, be it in the campaign or if he's elected, the chaos behind him? That's interesting.
I think it's also interesting if he hadn't stuck to the line about Israel, where would his poll be at the moment? Because I think that the country at large is behind Israel. So he had to choose between his party, which is divided anyway, and will be divided in government if he makes it into government, or whether he does it now and wins votes, which he is. So, I mean, it's a shrewd move. There are other considerations, I think, that he learnt the hard lesson under Jeremy Corbyn of just how unpopular anti-Semitism is in the country. So all of this is a difficult range of choices, which he's handled on that particular front quite well. But when it comes to the economy and so many other measures that will be thrust upon him in Downing Street, I think that will really be a big test on not just Starmer, but his party and his cabinet.